People will buy gold all the time. You hear the stories of how people escaped Europe, Nazi Germany, with those coins of gold. You always buy freedom with it. And that's why gold prices are going through the roof now, and the dollar's collapsing. And this is going to try to be a controlled collapse of the dollar, whether they're doing it purposely or out of ignorance. The bottom line is they're devaluing the currency. Everything that we buy is going to cost more.
Switching gears, if you were on the Senate Banking Committee and had a chance to interrogate Ben Bernanke at his confirmation hearings in his nomination to succeed himself in another 4-year term as the head of the Fed, what would you like to ask him, Jerry?
Well, but I would say, what are you bringing this loser back for? If I had a track record as bad as his, I would have been laughed out of business 30 years ago. Let's just look at the facts, Judge. Back in November of 2008, Ben Bernanke said we weren't going to go into a recession. We went into a recession a couple of weeks later, officially. And then when he was in front of the Congress at the hearings, both in January and in April of 2009, he said we still weren't in a recession. This guy's proved his incompetence over and over again. And they keep saying, well, you know, the Federal Reserve Chairman is an expert in the Great Depression. Yeah, that's like me being an expert in trying to fix a Model T Ford. There's no comparison. He's incompetent. They're all incompetent. Geithner, Summers, Bernanke. How about Larry Moe and Curley? These people have proved nothing but one failure after another.
Jerry, I agree with you, and I think most people watching and listening to us now agree with you as well. One of the things that that made my hair curl earlier this week was when Ben Bernanke wrote an op-ed on the in the Washington Post, sort of firing a shot across everyone's bow before the confirmation hearings started, basically arguing why the Fed should not be audited. What the heck is he afraid of that we will see or find if they're audited?
Exactly. Who could get away with this stuff? Oh, it's going to affect their independence? What independence? Who is the Treasury Secretary? Timothy Geithner. Where does Timothy Geithner come from? Let's see. The New York Federal Reserve Bank.
Wow.
He was the president.
That would be
there's no... Washington is the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve is Washington. Wall Street is Washington. You know, Judge, I've heard enough mafia stories for the rest of my life. If the names on Wall Street were named Salenti, Napolitano, Buitoni, Buccini, Bocelli, they call it the mafia.
Jerry,
You're not allowed to call the white shoe boys crooks and criminals.
I thought of you this morning when I read a piece about AIG wanting to pay back to the Federal Reserve $25 billion of the $85 billion the Fed has given to them. And then I scratched my head and I said, wait a minute. The Fed made up out of thin air the $85 billion it loaned to AIG, but AIG is going to pay back 25 of the 85 using real cash. Fiat money went out, real greenbacks will come in. When will the public learn about the fraud that the people that really own the Fed are perpetrating on the rest of us?
When they're out on the street and hungry. You know, as a Bronx boy, my line is, when people lose everything and they have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And people are going to start losing it. The Second American Revolution has begun. It happened with the Tea Parties and protests in April of this year. It happened again on the 4th of July when people took to the streets, taxation without representation. We saw it again with the outrage at the town hall meetings, and we saw it when people marched on Washington against big government on September 12th. It's a fraud. You said it from top to bottom. Who could get away with this stuff?
You know, you're going to have overwhelming majorities in the House and in the Senate that will vote to enact Ron Paul's bill to audit the Fed. And then you're going to have a president that will veto that, and you probably won't have 2/3 to override the veto. What is he trying to hide? Same thing?
Well, he's just one of the same crew. I mean, I get a kick out of it. You know, Obama's out-Bushed Bush from rendition to wiretapping to escalating the Afghan war. And when you show the liberals one thing after another that Obama's backtracked on, the only thing they do is they respond with a quiche-eating grin and a balsamic smile. It's the same group. It's just a different club.
All right, quiche and balsamic vinegar. What a combination. Jerry Celente, it's a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Hey, thank you, Judge.